All right, here we are. So we're back with another interesting episode here. This is actually going to be more just me kind of explaining a couple of things and talking about pretty much how things have been going for me, the struggles, right? The stories and the struggles and the embellishments and the bullshit and all the shit I've been going through the past week or so. But yeah, the Doom Scrolls is a joke. It's a podcast. Nothing I say, nothing we say should be taken very seriously. Right now, it's just me. There's no co-host, so I gotta probably change that a little bit. But nothing I say should be taken seriously. Viewers are advised to watch something else and find a safe place because you're probably not gonna like me, and I probably don't give a shit. But people are pussies nowadays, so anything you say, it's gonna offend somebody somewhere. So I'm not really worried about that. But that's it for my disclaimer here. Anyway, this week's been pretty interesting. Um, so I'm starting this new idea. This is the Doom Scrolls podcast, right? Um, Podcast is basically just like a talk radio show, but it's on the internet, right? So that's what we're doing here. And so like a few weeks back, I had an idea where I was like, you know what, I kind of want to do a show, kind of want to talk about the stuff that I want to talk about. Some people find the things I think interesting, and some people fucking hate my guts. For sure, some people hate me. I've I've come across a couple people who said like, you know, you have a face that I just want to fucking knock the shit out of you, and I get it. I feel that way about myself sometimes too. Like I know a girl said that I just have a face that she just wants to hit, and then I had a coworker who pretty much said the same thing, and these guys and these guys didn't know each other. So it's kind of funny that they have the same idea. They both just kind of see my face and they just kind of want to beat the shit out of me. So I understand. I'm not for everyone. Um, and about that, like, there's nothing you can do. You can't please everybody. You can only be yourself, and you don't have to please everybody. But I'm not trying to anyway. But okay. So I've been bringing this idea up for a couple of weeks to some friends, and some people are, you know, enthusiastic about it, and some people have their own opinion about it. And I'm pretty sure, you know, there's going to be people out there who are like, you know, nobody's going to watch you. Who cares? You're boring. Nobody gives a shit. All valid points on all levels. Those are all valid points. My point is just like to do what I like to do. You know what I mean? Like I want to kind of just sit around and talk about whatever I want to talk about and get my point across and not have to shove it in people's faces. You know what I mean? Like I feel like social media nowadays is, you know, people want to get on social media and they just kind of want to check out what everybody's up to. And I tend to feel like I get on there and I kind of feel like I want to voice my opinion sometimes. Like I want to talk about the things I want to talk about that is going on in my life, my deepest, darkest opinions about things, and nobody really wants to get into that. So if you want to get into that with me, this is the place to come listen because I'm gonna do that here, and I will have friends on. You know, I have a couple of buddies who want to come do a show with me and co-host, and if they like it, they'll come back, and if I like them, I'll bring them back. But you know, conflict is fun too. Kind of want to bring people on that I don't agree with. Kind of want to bring people on that have a radical state of a difference of opinion than me. Um, I was just talking to a lady at Southtown 101 yesterday. Southtown 101 is one of my favorite spots to hang out at. Southtown 101 here in South San Antonio, right outside of downtown. Southtown 101 is a pretty nice spot. Uh, I was talking about my ideas with a group of friends. It was like three or four guys and one lady, and the lady is she's a visual artist, so she does like videos. Apparently she worked for like a UTSA arts department, and nice, very nice, sweet lady. You know, she was a really cool cat, but her opinion was, what do you so she came at me sideways, kind of sideways. She kind of came at me like, what do you plan on doing with your show? You know, what are your ideas? what's your persona going to be like? And I was just like, I'm just really going to just be myself. I'm going to start it off as a reaction podcast where I react to TikTok videos and YouTube shorts and Facebook reels. And she was like, so what makes you different from everybody else that does that? And I absolutely said, there's really no difference other than I'm the only guy like me, I guess. There are more people probably like me, but I'm the only one that's me, right? I'm the only Chris that you guys know that is just like me. You can't put it any way plainer than that. So my difference is, I'm your friend Chris. You come over here to hang out with me if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. Don't listen. Uh, but I pretty much kind of stood my ground, and she was like, so what are you gonna do with your show? What makes you special? And I kind of just told her, like, I'm not trying to make anybody watch. I'm not trying to fit into any kind of genre or group, or I've never wanted to be somebody who kind of fits in exactly. I really could care less if I fit in somewhere. I just kind of like to be myself and have a good time. And she was like, so you're pretty much just a guy with the microphone. And I said, yeah, pretty much that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's pretty much what I am. And she was like, well, I'd give that a hard pass. I'd give it a hard pass, which was kind of like a fuck you to me, which is cool. That's fine. I don't mind negative criticism, or I don't mind the remarks so much. But then I started to think about it. Like, I stood my ground. I'm like, I'm not trying to pander to anybody. I'm not trying to fit into any group, or I'm not trying to use any community to stand on to get views or any of that kind of shit. I'll come into my own over time. Nothing's gonna work right away. If it's a new podcast, the chances are that there's gonna be some failures. There's gonna be some mistakes. There's gonna be some haters, and people that don't really fucking get along with my personality. I get that, and I'm not worried about it. But yeah, so I stood my ground. She said she'd give it a hard pass, which is pretty much a fuck you to me, which is fine. I don't mind. I've been told fuck you before. But then I sat there, kind of thought about it for a while. I kind of picked her apart in my mind, and she's cool. She's a sweet lady, sweet woman. I'd like to be friends with the lady. I try to keep friendships. I try to stay open to new people. And I don't say this in a derogatory way, but she's like a 40-plus-year-old white lady, liberal, lesbian woman. And I'm guessing that I'm not going to wow that community. I'm not going to be. There's probably very little about me that 40-plus-year-old lesbian women are gonna get into. If if you get my drift, like, what am I gonna say that they want to listen to? Probably not very much, right? I'm just a regular old guy. I'm a 37-year-old working man, Hispanic man. I'm a part of a subculture. You could say whatever you want about me. I'm a part of the hipster goth fucking subculture. That's cool, and I don't mind saying that. Although I never claimed to be goth. I'm not one of those fucking stylish fucking $500 jacket goths. I'm just pretty much a goth, a gutter goth. I don't know what you would call it, a punk. Anyway, that's that. But yeah, I've actually came across a couple guys. I have a friend, my friend at the bar, Cody, who I kind of bounce back and forth with him. I think he's a computer technician, a computer repair dude. But me and him kind of hang out and talk, and have some drinks at the bar. He'll watch me do some karaoke, which is one of my favorite things in the world to do. If anybody knows me, they know I love to do karaoke. I love singing. I love music. I just don't have very much musical talent. But Cody will catch me at the bar and we'll hang out and talk. And I talked to him about this, and I've shown him the link to my YouTube channel, which is right now the base for my show, The Doom Scrolls. So Cody has me and him have some good bounce backs. He gives me some ideas. I write stuff down. I write a lot of notes down. I carry a little notepad with me that I write everything in. So Cody's giving me some really good feedback. And then sometimes, you'll get some people sitting around you at the bar who will be listening, and they'll kind of throw some ideas at you, or the idea takes them, and it kind of makes them smile, and it makes them think about the possibilities, which is cool. um Something I've learned over time, and this is a good thing about me, is I've been through a lot of bullshit. I've been through a lot of cool shit. I've had a lot of good stuff happen to me and a lot of bad stuff happen to me, but I'm still here. I'm not one of these people who falls backwards into depression anymore, but I used to be. I used to sit there and feel sorry for myself, and get in the fetal position and lay in bed for fucking hours in the morning, and on the weekends when I was off, just kind of lay in bed and not want to do anything. And I learned how to get out of that. Right, I learned how to overcome certain situations that might break another human being. Drug addiction, divorces, breakups, love fucking turning into garbage, flaming car wreck, love, love affairs, and I've been through a lot. I've been through a bunch of garbage, but the good thing about me is I'm still here, and I have spiritual energy that I know a lot of people don't know how to harness their spirit, right? But I've learned how to harness my spirit over time. Um, and I think that's one of the things that brings me to want to do this. Like, I feel compelled to throw my ideas out there into the universe, and when people hear it, there might be something that other people have been waiting to hear, or they haven't heard it before. Maybe they have heard it before, but they hear it from some average piece of shit like me, and they realize, like, oh, maybe I can actually change my life. Maybe I can do what this person might be doing. Maybe this gives people inspiration to do what they've been wanting to do. You know what I mean? Because I've been wanting to do something like this since I was a teen. I know when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I would sit there and listen to FM radio and AM radio. I'd listen to people, listen to like Lyle and Han. I listened to like the KTFM that's here in San Antonio. I'd listen to the KTFM morning show. I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. I listened to Mancow in the morning, which was pretty interesting. I liked Mancow growing up. He's kind of a shock jock, which is not kind of what I want to do, but the talking aspect of it all is what I really like the most. I know when I was about 13, 14 years old, I started listening to Howard Stern on the E channel, which turned me on to the movie Private Parts, which turned me on to the book Miss America, which really taught me about Howard Stern, who is a really iconic, a really amazing talk radio legend, basically. So back in 2003, 2004, my best friend turned me on to a podcast called Red Bar Radio, redbarradio.net. A guy named Mike David started a podcast called Red Bar Radio, and Mike David's a very polarizing individual. Mike David is the kind of guy that when he sees something that's out of place, or he sees somebody who puts off the wrong vibe, he'll kind of check him on that shit. And he's kind of a bully, which I kind of like. There's like, I wouldn't listen to a show that wasn't sensational in some way. I wouldn't turn on the fucking podcast and sit there and just listen to some boring, random conversations about something that's not exciting. So Mike David's exciting because he bullies and harasses, and I do enjoy that. That's not kind of what I'm trying to do here, but it might come to that if things get fun. Anyway, my idea for this show came a few weeks back, and I started working a second job to pick up some money to, I have a job to pay my bills, pick up the second job to pay some debts, and in between, I have some money to spend on some cool stuff. I have some money to put into the show, some money to put into, bettering myself. So with that comes exercise, maybe better clothes, just some things that I've been missing out on. Like I said, I've been a drug addict for 20 plus years, from the age of what, like, shit, I want to say 13 up until I was about 35, 34. Just drugs every day, drugs, constantly using alcohol, pills, heroin, coke, whatever, you name it, I did it. Smoking weed every day, thinking that was like just chasing a high and building and just snowballing into harder and harder drugs, and staying high all day. And my life was kind of wasted on that. I'm not saying it was a waste, because I learned a lot from it. I learned how to, I want to say that using tons of drugs for all those years and chasing that high, and then running out of the drugs and becoming broke and falling into, you know, hitting my bottom per se, hitting rock bottom per se, taught me how to bounce back in life. So I bounced back in a way where, you know, I got my family back on my side mostly. Um, I have a daughter. I'm a dad to a beautiful little 5 year old girl, which is really cool. She's my twin. She looks like me, if you can imagine, without the facial hair, which I don't have very much of anyway. But yeah. So I've been through a lot, and when I came back from all that, and I started to really work on myself and stop drinking every night and stop partying and start taking care of myself, right? I realized like I have some free time now. What am I going to do in my free time? So I started reading a whole bunch. I love reading. I really love reading. I love writing and I love reading, but these are things that I really don't talk about very much. Um, but aside from reading's fun, but I tend to do that so much that I don't produce anything, right? So I figured I'll buy some equipment, you know, with my extra money, and I'll start a little podcast here. So here we are. Excuse me. So yeah, it's been a pretty interesting beginning. Learning how broadcasting through YouTube works. I'm learning about broadcasting equipment. I'm learning about how to bring people together, which is really interesting. I have a lot of friends. I have a friend who's a cook at one of my jobs. I work two jobs. I'm a server at a restaurant, and I'm a loader on a dock. I work in a warehouse at a production facility. So I have a friend who's a cook at my day job. I mean, no, at my night job, who wants to be a part of the show, which is pretty cool. I'm going to bring him in here eventually. And I have a friend who's a bartender at the same place who's going to come in and probably do a couple episodes with us here in the future. One of my really good friends, his name is Steven. He goes by a couple of different things, but his real name is Steven. You'll see him here. He's a Johnny Depp looking dude with long hair and glasses. Pretty cool cat. He's a really sweet guy. I met him through a chick that I was dancing with at a club once. I remember meeting this girl at a club, and her son is actually Steven. Her son is Steven. Really cool lady. Cynthia. Shout out to Cynthia. Her son's name is Steven. Me and Steven hung out over the last year, and it just turned out that he's a really sweet guy. He's a really cool, kind gentleman. You know, we all have our flaws, and I like to get into it with him about some of the things that I see about the guy, because he's been somewhere where I've been before. You know, kind of in a bad place with relationship issues and stuff like that. So I kind of want to bring him on to get into it with him about those kinds of situations. Maybe bully him a little bit, maybe teach him something, maybe he'll teach me something. But me and him tend to argue for hours when we drink, and we have a good time like when we're doing that. So I'm gonna bring him on for some of that. You know, the possibilities are endless. I have so many random friends who, when I tell them about this, they're game. They want to do it. You know what I mean? Everybody has something to say. I think everybody has a voice. Everybody has something they want to talk about. I know we have this innate feeling inside of us where in our own lives, you know, we feel like we're chosen for something. I get that feeling myself. There's times when I see people struggling. There's times when I see people going through addiction issues or relationship problems or self-esteem issues, and I've had all of those, and I feel like I've overcame those since I'm not in a crippling depression. You know, I'm not sitting on my hands, twiddling my thumbs, not doing anything. I'm trying to build this up here simultaneously while getting out of debt, rebuilding my life, trying to become fully independent, because I'm not right now. Not at all. I would like to be, but I'm not exactly a fully grown adult at the age of 37, sad to say. I have been before, but I used to sell drugs. I used to do all kinds of illicit things, illegal things, right? I used to do all kinds of bad shit. But I think I have a voice now. I think I have some kind of wisdom and experience that could help people get through some of the things that they go through, which is pretty cool. I feel like I have some of the secrets to get through certain things in life. Like I keep bringing this up because this is one of the things that's pretty special to my heart, pretty close to my heart, because I've been I've had those thoughts of self deletion. I guess you can't say those words on YouTube. It rhymes with what does it rhyme with? I want to say suicidal. Can you say that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not. I don't feel like self deleting today, but there's a reason for that, and where that comes from is a lot of the book reading and the learning that I've done. It comes from watching a lot of the great thinkers of our modern times, right? Like Eckhart Tolle, Sadhguru. Um, there's a lot of very motivational, spiritual leaders in the world right now that could teach you how to get out of your depression. But a lot of people sit there and they kind of dwell on their problems more than trying to search for answers or find resolve to their problems. So I think that's where I come in. When you see somebody who's like a regular, modern, working Joe like me, who's just fucking doing it daily, just like you are, probably gives you hope for yourself, right? You see a guy like me, and I'm not a lot, I'm not the most, coolest guy, but if I don't feel like self deleting and you do, maybe you can learn something from me. So I feel like I have something to give the community. Um, because I went to Narcotics Anonymous for a few years. You sit in a room with other addicts, you sit in a big group, you get 5 minutes to talk about whatever you want, and everybody just has to shut the fuck up and listen. So I learned how to talk about problems. I learned how to talk about the things that I was going through. And I learned a lot of solutions from people who were right there in the battlefield trying to find solutions themselves. So I kind of have an issue with therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists in that regard. I like people who've been there. I don't want somebody who's just book smart. So I think that's kind of what I have to offer. But getting out of depression is one of the most important things, I think, and spreading that hope is important. But when I was going to NA and sharing the things that I was sharing, there were things that I was going through within the weeks or within those days where I felt compelled to let some of this stuff go, not only for myself, but to help other people. And somebody said some shit like, when you speak from the heart, it touches people's hearts, right? And that's something that I truly do believe, because some of the things that other people have said in those meetings have gotten through to me and broken through that wall of depression, broken through that wall of nobody understands me, nobody gets what I'm going through, I'm the only one that's living my life, I'm the only one that could possibly understand the pain and the suffering. And we all feel that way at some point. Everybody goes through that, because I've heard I've heard countless addicts sit there in a room, first time people that come to the meetings for the first time, say stuff like nobody understands, right? Because nobody's had your mom and dad, nobody has been through the shit you've been through at work or at school or in your life or in your drug addiction or whatever. And on some level it's true, but we're not all as unique as we think we are, because human beings have been going through these things since the beginning of time, I'm guessing. And if you just look for the answers, you'll find them. And every time I crack a book, every time I crack some a self-help book, a motivational book, or something about my something that I need for my spirit, I hear something that I've heard before, but I learned how to internalize it in a different way. So what I'm saying is, in so many words, is I do feel compelled to do this podcast for some reason. And I don't know exactly why sometimes, but then sometimes when I say certain things, it comes out and it's eloquent, and it's something that was weighing on my mind, that was heavy, and or something that touches me, and I let it go. And I know it's going to the right place. I know it's out there in the ether or whatever. It's going to end up in the right person's mind, and the right person's going to hear what I have to say, and they're going to be like, he's fucking right, because I've been there before. Or the right person's going to be like, you know what? I've been thinking about that, and the way he put it, it makes complete sense, and it resonates. And you can be told something, but if it doesn't resonate with you and your experiences, and it doesn't become internalized with you, then it's just another saying that you heard, or it's just something you heard and it goes in one ear and out the other, right? But I think there's something to show for being a regular guy and getting over things like depression and self deletion and drug addiction in general. I think there's something to getting out of that need to feed the void within. I know we all have a void within us, and some people it's bigger than others, and there's a lot of people have that void inside of them that they need to feed, or they need to fill it up with something, and they try to feed it drugs, try to feed it sex. If you're a guy, maybe you're trying to feed that void women. Maybe you like other guys, I don't know. But people try to feed that void sex. People try to feed that void drugs. Some people overeat. They try to feed that void actual like food. Some people try to fill their void with money, but then they end up in really tough situations for chasing after all those things. And when you're trying to fill the void, you're not really doing what you're supposed to for your spirit, and you feel like it doesn't change anything, right? But I think the key to filling up that void is learning that whatever you need in life is already inside of you. You just need to learn how to unlock a lot of this stuff, right? Like, I think we all have a spirit within us. And I think that's the difference between me and some of the people who are going through some of the stuff they're going through today, is that I have a spirit, and I know I have that spirit, and I have a really strong connection to my spirit, and I know how to feed my spirit the right way, and I know how to be productive with my spirit. And with me, my spirit is fed by being around friends, and these are friends that just want to be around me because they like me for who I am and my personality. I have my friend, this little group of friends that we call them the flamingo bats. Let's see where my bat is. I got the bat. There it is. There it is. The flamingo bats. That's my that's my little clique, my little group of people that I love so deeply. Um, Within the last few years, they reminded me that I am a special guy, that I am a good person. And sometimes I go off the rails, and sometimes I'm a little crazy, and they'll check me on that shit. And I think that's what a good group of friends does, is they tell you when you're fucking up, and they tell you how to, and they can detect when your spirit is fucked, even when you're exhausted and you can't really see it yourself. And I've been there before. I had a bad breakup in February. I'll get to that some other time, but hanging out with these dudes really built up my spirit. And I thought I was nothing because the breakup sucked, and I thought that I didn't like myself and I hated myself. But they showed me that I'm a special guy. They'd be like, "Hey, come out to the club. We want to be with you. Come hang out with us." And I'd be at the club. I'd literally be at the club tearing up because things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. And my friends would they'd wave me onto the dance floor. They'd be like, "Come on, come on." And I didn't understand, because I hadn't really been a dancer. I'm not somebody who would just sit there and think like, "Oh, I should go dance and display myself in front of people and dance." But they taught me what it is to dance and have a good time. And that's where my friend Steven's mom comes in. Cynthia, shout out to Cynthia. She taught me how to dance and have a good time. And shout outs to Cindy, and shout outs to Megan and Joanne and Michael, and it's shit, even Ben, Nico, Scarlett, Marie, Ghost, David. These are some of the people who, over the last year, the year before now, anyway, 2023, the year, taught me how to unlock my spiritual energy. And when I dance and when I go out to the club once in a while, and I meet up with friends, and people tell me they're so glad to see me and they're happy to have me around, it makes me feel happy to be myself. And that's something, as a drug addict, that I didn't have. I was chasing a feeling, but I had to pay for that feeling. And when I was broke and I didn't have the money to pay for that feeling, I was depressed. I had heartache. I had a lot of pain within me. And a lot of it stemmed from, my childhood sucked. My family was not, we weren't the fucking Waltons. We weren't the fucking Brady Bunch. I didn't have the most fun childhood. I didn't really have much of a childhood anyway, but I didn't have the most fun childhood. I didn't have a lot of friends. Relationships sucked. There was a lot of abuse, right? Father was fucking a crazy wildling like me, but he was more hands on than I am in a way. Not that I wasn't, but that's another story. That's another pretty harsh story. Just kind of how much of a fuck up I was when I was in addiction. Then I'll get to that eventually. I mean, one day, this is just the first of a solo talking situation. But yeah, I've been through a lot of shit, and my friends really picked me up, and I realized, like, at one point last year, they threw me a birthday party, which is really fucking cool. And everybody brought me gifts, and I have them here displayed around me. I'll probably not show those, but it's like these people knew what I liked. These people knew what I liked, and they really knew what I was about. And that was really touching to see people who like see you and know what you're about. And they gave me like the key to unlock my energy. I had like a really good job that I still do have, and the bosses knew what I was going through as far as the drinking and the partying, and the loneliness, the going home after work and going home after a long day and feeling lonely, and then saying, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the club and I'm going to go drink and I'm gonna get fucked up, and then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna pass out. And then you go home and you pass out and you wake up late for work, and you're at work and you're disheveled and you feel like shit. And my bosses kind of knew what I was going through because they had been there before. I work in a warehouse, so a lot of the guys that I work with were like, yeah, we've been there before, And so having people who understood was amazing, and it just kind of all coincided. It all kind of just happened together at the same right points in my life. The breakup, the meeting the friends, the having the good job and the good bosses, the having my daughter love me and be there in my life, having my mom and dad have my back when I needed them the most. And I was so depressed and so fucked up in my head, but I realized I've had many spiritual awakenings over the last couple of years since I stopped using, but I had this spiritual awakening where it was like, okay, everybody has my back. I have all these people behind me: my job, my daughter, my daughter's mother, my mom and dad, my friends at the club, my friends outside of the club. People around me seem to like me because I have good intentions. I'm in the right place. I'm doing the work to get better. You can't heal people who aren't willing to be healed, and I think people could see that. Yes, I was willing to heal myself and be healed, and look for the right things that I need for myself, and seek knowledge and seek information. And people started to realize that this kid's on the right track. A 37-year-old man, but this kid's on the right track. People started to realize, and I had that spiritual awakening where I was like, everybody has my back except for me. I'm the only one that doesn't have my back. So I started to evaluate my own self and look at, like, why don't I have my back? It doesn't make sense. All these people see all the good that I've been doing. Everybody, and I don't have a big head about myself now. I'm very humble because I've been through some shit, and I'm not perfect. I have flaws. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has fucking mistakes to be made in their future, past and present. But I think, like, everybody had my back. Now it's time I have my back. And that kind of woke me up to this place where I'm at now, where I'm like, okay, I have something to give. I have a reason to stay around. I'm glad I didn't self-delete. I'm glad I wasn't too self-destructive. I'm glad I still have my mind, my morals, my values, my principles are all, my principles are pretty much at the height of where they can be. I think they can get better over time still. But when I was younger, I didn't really even have principles. I didn't even really know what principles are. And I think principles are creating the man I am today. I have some morals. It's a little flexible on that sometimes, but I have morals, values that I tend to want to live by to make my life better. And I'm compelled to talk about shit like this. You know what I mean? And I get it. Not a lot of people want to hear what I have to say, and that's fine. Maybe I'm not for certain types of communities. Maybe I'm not for certain. Maybe just for the simple fact that I'm a man I'm not for certain communities, maybe for the simple fact that I'm Hispanic. I'm not for certain communities. Maybe my intelligence levels, maybe I'm not for everybody. Maybe it's my look, the genre of people I roll with, or the culture that I'm intertwined with. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Not everybody's going to want to be. Not everyone's going to watch the Doom Scrolls. Not everyone's going to want to watch the fucking Doom Scrolls. Yes, I understand. But I mean, I'm here now, and I'm gonna do this. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna be deterred by haters. I'm not going to go away because I don't have hundreds of views or even dozens of views. I don't have a fan base. I don't have people kissing my ass. I don't care. Like, I have stuff to talk about. I have stuff I want to let out. It's pretty much word vomit at this point, but I'm compelled to say stuff like this. Eventually, I'll introduce you to some of my good friends. I have a good friend, Mr. Lee, who compelled me to write a kid's book, and I wrote a children's book. I'm just not sure how to publish it exactly without putting a couple of $100 or thousands of dollars into it, because I need a character design, I need illustration, and I need to figure out how to publish stuff. I want to publish hard copy as well as digital through Amazon, which is like the leading book sales company here in the United States, mostly in the world. But yeah, I wrote a book thanks to one of my friends. He inspired me to write a book, and a couple of my friends read it and they liked it. But it's a children's book, so it's not like a fucking. It's not gonna change the world, but it might grow up in the hearts of people in the future. So I was inspired to do that, and I'm writing a novel, which is it's something big to say that you're writing a novel. I never thought I would say I'm going to write a novel and I'm going to talk about it with people on a podcast that I'm making and producing myself. But here I am. Anything's possible, and you end up in places you didn't really expect you'd be. um and I think a lot of that comes from just persevering, pushing forward, and my spirit's just growing. The way I feel about myself now, I didn't feel like that a year ago. But yeah, this is pretty much how the podcast is going to be when I'm by myself. I'm hoping to get I for sure need a desk. I for sure need I need a desk. I need a couple of more microphones, which I work enough. I'll be able to get all this shit on my own. I need chairs, and I need space. I'm gonna want to rent an office, or pretty much maybe get a 2 bedroom apartment so I can put this in one of the bedrooms. But I'm not sure if I want to do that exactly just yet. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of room for expansion, and there's a lot of this gives me the motivation to work even harder in life and push further into the horizon of where I can go with this. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much where I am with this. I like it that I like it that the chick kind of hated on me at the bar, all the while having 4 friends that were smiling and laughing, and I've been bringing this idea for this show up with people here and there. I was at my night job. Oh, sorry. I was at my night job talking about this with somebody, and a couple at the bar, they were talking about building a podcast themselves. And I know at Southtown 101, which is another bar, not the same one I was working at, but at another bar, they have a podcast booth, like a studio on the other side of the wall behind the bar, which is pretty interesting. And they do shows there, but I've never listened to. I think it's called Pub City Radio. Never listened to Pub City Radio, but maybe I'll check it out. But yeah, I was sitting at work, I was serving at work anyway, and I heard this couple talk about their idea for a podcast. So I gave them the link to my podcast, talked about how, yeah, this has always been an idea for me too. And it's cool. People want to do this. People are interested in this situation. And I really like the fact that there's a lot of positive ideas out there. And I don't mind the fact that there's a lot of negative haters, people who don't want to have anything to do with it. I get it. Not a lot of people sit there and listen to the talking, and not a lot of people sit there and listen to talking or podcasts. I get that. But there's a gigantic fucking market for podcasts. I know there was something like 1.6 million podcasts within the last couple of months that aired on what is it, Streamlabs or StreamYard, and I think that number is changing every month. But that just tells you that there's a huge market and there's a lot of people trying, and I get that. Um, but I like the idea of doing this. Honestly, I've been wanting to do this my whole life, and I'm at a point now where I can actually produce something. So here I am. And but I also see having haters as, you know, what is somebody there, what did they say, I like my haters be my motivators. I actually get that now. I get that now. So having somebody hate on your idea, not that that motivates me to keep doing it, not like a, it's not like a spite cast, you know, although I could easily turn this into a spite cast if I wanted to. um but like, not everything's for everybody. I'm not for everybody, obviously. You know, that person's probably not for everybody. um but when I see people like detractors, or when I find that people are hating on something, I try to think like, yeah, that's the other side of the coin. You know, that's the opposite of what I have in my mind. My thought process is, it's out there and it's fascinating, it's interesting. And it gave me the idea to just kind of get on here and talk about this today. And there's a few things that I want to get into eventually. For sure, I'll talk about the drug addiction. You know, how I got out of drug addiction, why I got out of drug addiction. My pretty much having a kid kind of was a catalyst for me switching it up in life, and not chasing a high every day. How I met my daughter's mother, which is an interesting, you know, which is cliche, but how I met her is pretty interesting, because I met her in the height of my drug addiction, which is going to be a fun one. Um, you know, being fucking crazy, wild, abusive, fucking asshole person that I was, and turning into who I am today. That'd be fun to listen to, and I'm sure people want to hear those fucking tales, because those are pretty weird, wild tales. Who wouldn't want to hear about me ending up in jail and fucking up my life and becoming a fucking, you know, labeled as, oh, you're a fucking violent criminal, which I'm not, but it could have easily went there. I could have easily became something worse in my life than a fucking guy doing a podcast sitting alone in this room or whatever. But yeah, the drug addiction, the recovery aspect, the spiritual awakenings, you know, the my last long-term ish relationship with this emo scene queen that I was dating up until February of last year, which was a fucking disaster, by the way. It was so fucked up. And talking about men and women dynamics and dating in the modern age is that's a fun one, and that's a very polarizing subject. You know, you're gonna hear me talk about some things that might come off as slightly misogynist, but I'm not. I don't by any means hate women, but I think when you talk about holding people accountable for actions, a lot of people a lot of people feel triggered. A lot of people think that, or a lot of women, a lot of men and women, when I bring up certain things that women might do to unsuspecting men, they turn around and call me a misogynist, or they say that I hate women, which I absolutely do not. But I don't like people who use men who are leading with their hearts, if that makes any sense. I also don't even think that men should lead with their hearts. I think men should lead with their minds, and feelings are not as important as the facts, because I think you could feel like somebody's a good person, but the facts show that these people probably don't give a fuck about how you feel and are using your feelings to lead you in a direction that's going to benefit them in the end. And I learned that this past year, last year, I want to say in 2022 up until 2023, February of 2023 was when the relationship ended. And I learned a lot about attention seeking women, who are really cool, but probably don't have the best intentions for the people around them in mind. And yeah, I learned a lot of fucking stuff about myself, my limits, my aggression, my anger. I learned about um, what triggers me and what kind of turns me into a person that I don't like to be. Um, and a lot of it had to do with my lack of understanding of these types of people. I was kind of living in a world where I was just feeding myself drugs and sitting around not learning about people. And now I'm fascinated with like how people are in their thought processes and why men and women behave how they do with each other and the dynamic between these people and the dynamics between couples and really fascinating stuff. But this shit, it becomes so polarizing. It becomes heated, and that's where my friend Steven comes in, because me and him kind of get into this stuff, and I consider Steven what they call a, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say the word, but I think there's something about YouTube where you can't really get into simpy stuff, which I'll probably only say it one more time. I think Steven's kind of a simp. No disrespect. I have told him this before, but I think when people cross your boundaries and they're clearly hurting you, and you care about them, and they know you care about them, and they continue to cross your boundaries, and they go against how you feel, or they use how you feel against yourself. Um, yeah, I think that that's dangerous, and that's definitely not healthy to be around, and that's not something you want to stick around and stay in. But my friend Steven has like the opposite. He has the opposite feeling about the matter. So we start to talk about this stuff, and we sit there for hours. We probably have a couple of glasses of whiskey or something. We might be drinking. We might be doing something. And Steven and me will argue about shit back and forth, and we have this kind of relationship sometimes, and sometimes we have this kind of relationship where we're like really good friends, and we mesh well even when we're arguing, which is a really cool dynamic to have, because we argue sometimes about, it's usually just when it comes to women when we argue. I think he's one of these kinds of guys who thinks like you shouldn't criticize women, and he's one of these kinds of guys who thinks like if you do criticize women, it's not good for your image. But I'm one of these kinds of guys who is like, if I criticize somebody who's fucking up and they don't like me, then we probably weren't for each other anyway. So I'm not here trying to please everybody or pander to anybody. So that's going to be pretty interesting to get into. And I think that'll come when I have an actual space for him, because I have very little space right now. But I think there could be space for Steven here. I'm not sure. But I got the second camera. I have a third and fourth mic. I have enough headphones for an army. I have all the equipment I need to get into it with 3 or 4 people. I think 4 would be the max, and it could be pretty interesting to have 4 people on a show. I don't know what we talk about, but I'm pretty sure there'd be some bullying and some alcohol involved, and it'd be pretty fun. So that's coming in the near future. But that's pretty much why I'm working so hard lately, because I see that as something that I really want to do. It's the goal. It's it's the path that I've been headed on for a long time, but I didn't know I was headed in that direction because I didn't have a vision for this. But a lot of the times when I get into like ideas and brainstorming, it seems to point to this. Like it's kind of always been headed in this direction since I was a young person. But now I'm getting the grays. It's starting to make more sense to me. Like I'm starting to see what the destiny has in store for me, as long as I stay on the right path, as long as I take care of myself, take care of my issues, seek knowledge, look for a better way, and don't get lazy, and don't fall into depression, and don't chase women, and don't chase money, and don't chase drugs, or don't chase your feelings, because feelings don't matter. Really, what matters is the facts. The facts are that there's shit that has to get done. I learned that the hard way. Now I have so much shit that has to get done that I have a lot of labor ahead of me as well, which I don't really dread that as much as I used to. I used to hate having to get up and work an 8 hour job. Now I'm working two jobs and I'm thinking about a third job only because I like the way it feels to progress through shit. I like the way it feels to pay something off, have money to do what I want to do, and then know that I'm going to have money to pay the next problem off or pay the next thing off or do something with my money in the future. Like, so it went from dreading getting up and having a job to I wish I could be at work longer. I wish I could have a third job. So once I get this legal matter out of the way, and we'll get into that later. Once I get the legal matter out of the way, then I will have my third job back, which will be one of these gigs, you know, driving people around, which I really like to do. I like strangers. I like talking to strangers. Obviously, I like to. I guess waiting tables for the last however many years I've been doing it. I like to talk to strangers, like sharpening my charm or whatever. If that makes sense. If I have any charm, I like walking up on a stranger and kind of picking apart his personality and figuring out what I can do in this situation to make a person smile or uplift their spirit or bring some kind of happiness into their world. Or maybe they just want to be left the fuck alone. I like to learn about those kinds of people too. I've waited tables and I've came across these dudes who just sit there. They don't want any extra banter. They don't want to talk about shit. They just want what they want, and they're gonna get the fuck out of there. They're not gonna talk to anybody. They're not gonna smile. They're not gonna look up. And it's interesting to find out who's like, you know, who's what. So I really enjoyed doing rideshare work. You know, I could pick somebody up, you know, find out where they're going, head to where they're going. On the way there, you know, I get these cues as to what kind of music they like. So I'll play some music that I think they might like, and then we'll start talking about it. And somebody said that was a very manipulative tactic, and I agree. It is it is a very manipulative tactic to put music on that you think somebody might like, and then talk to them about certain things, and then make them happy and make them want to tip you. You know, big money. People drop me $50 bills. People give me more tips than I deserve, more than what the ride is worth. But that's kind of what rideshare is all about. Really making money, making people happy, taking people where they want to go. And that will be my third job. I think that's coming in a few months anyway. I don't have very much left to go until I'm back to that. And once I get that, that'll be my third stream of revenue. Third stream of revenue. Which 3 streams of revenue is amazing to have. Right now I have 2, but I didn't even really want to work for one job. Like I'm saying, these are the progressions. These are the places we get to go when we build up our spirit. You know, I'm not just laying in bed hating my life. I'm thinking of how to better myself more and more. So that's why I am how I am now. I'm always kind of busy. If I'm not busy, I'm sleeping. if I'm doing something where my hands are free, but I don't have to talk to people, I'm listening to an audiobook. If I have free time and I'm not doing too much with my hands, I can look through a book and read something while I'm at work. I like people. I like talking. I like knowledge. I'm a seeker. So that's kind of how I am. That's kind of why I am how I am. It comes from the Narcotics Anonymous, the trying to recover my life, the waiting tables, the having a kid, having friendships, having a family, having bills, having all these things, and it turns into who I am right here, right now. And so if somebody had to ask, like, what do you have to offer as far as starting a podcast and bringing knowledge to people? What can you really say? What's your personality going to be like? All I can say is this is it. Like, I don't know what else to say. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm not trying to I'm not here to show off. I don't I don't have a lot of I'm not like a prideful person who has so much to show off that that's my goal at the end. All I have is knowledge to bring and a will to seek more knowledge. And I see people that have situations that I've been through, and I kind of want to pass something on to these people. It's like having a kid. You want to give them something better than you had so that they do better than you did. That's kind of what this is about. It's kind of like you just want to pass it on. You feel compelled to help people do better. And so if somebody had to ask, what can you bring to this table to podcasting? I would say, look, it's just I am who I am, and I want to share that with other people. And the people who don't want to listen don't have to listen. We just did an hour of this to kind of introduce myself, to get this out there. And whoever's still with me, send me a message, give me a like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. That's cool. Hit me up. My business cards are on the way. I'll slip it to whoever wants one. So you can call me. You can be on the show. You can come hang out when I get a space, and we could do this together. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this idea. Like I said, it's something I've been wanting to do since I was young, but didn't realize I kind of wanted to do this. But I've been listening to talk radio for so long. It makes perfect sense. Like, this is where things have been headed. I could just see it now. I have the vision now, and we're gonna do it. I couldn't say it any better than how I just said it. And I'm pretty thankful for all the stuff I went through this week. Hanging out with Lee, doing karaoke with DJ Joe, going out with some friends this weekend. Shout outs to Michael, shout outs to Megan, shout outs to Joanne, shout outs to Steven and Lee and Chrissy. I saw the Smoking Popes last night. The Smoking Popes, a band that I didn't realize that I like. They sound a lot like Bayside, or Bayside sounds a lot like the Smoking Popes. I didn't know that. My ex was obsessed with Bayside, and I'm thinking I'll be a Smoking Popes fan of the Smoking Popes just to spite her, which is pretty cool. But the Smoking Popes were great. Got to have some drinks with my boss, which is always fun. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I think everybody at that restaurant drinks together. So I don't think it's not a big revelation to say I drink with my boss. Shout outs to Chris. But yeah, it was a fun night. And after that, I went out to Southtown 101 and I met with the girl that I was talking about, the lady who, the 40-plus-year-old lady who said she would do a hard pass on my podcast. And I think she's a sweet girl, like I said. But sometimes when alcohol is involved, certain personalities start to come out of people who are very, very nice, very, very sweet. She's a very sweet girl, sweet lady. She's a woman. Sorry, I'm not trying to be derogatory, or not trying to minimize who she is. She's a very sweet woman, very kind. Maybe I misconstrued what she said. Maybe she was trying to be constructively criticizing towards me to try to get me to see that maybe I should do something to but I resisted. And like I said, I'm not trying to fit into anything. I don't want to be like anybody else so much as I just want to be the best version of me. And I think the only one that knows how to make that happen is me. Like, I know how to better myself. I know where I'm lacking. I know where my goals are. I know how to progress. I know what's going backwards and I know what's going forwards. And I definitely don't need somebody to tell me how to have a personality. Maybe I'll never have a nice, like a pop personality that pops. Maybe the show will just be this way. Maybe having other people on I can bounce back and forth off of will be fun, and things will change, and I might say some interesting stuff, or maybe I won't. But I'm definitely not gonna try to wow anybody. I've never really been that kind of guy. I've only ever been the kind of guy that just does what he does and is himself and does what he has to do. Other than that, I'm kind of a wildling, kind of do stuff I'm not supposed to do sometimes, which is interesting, which could make interesting for the podcast. Um, I think somebody said I sound like I might become a bully if I do this with Steven. And I like the idea of I like the idea of bullying Steven about some of the things he does, because honestly I think he could use some bullying. I think we could all use some bullying. I would say bully people. That's fine with me. Bully people. Don't push people to where their limits are, but remind people, to have some kind of shame. Remind people to look at themselves and be reflective. People have to be reminded that they're not perfect. Not anybody's, no one's perfect, basically. But I think if somebody criticized me or tried to bully me, I would look at myself and be like, wait a minute, maybe there is something, but maybe there's not. Maybe this person's just a complete asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole. But I like the idea of bullying, and I like the idea of bringing shame back. I think people don't have a lot of shame nowadays. um, but anyway, it could be fun. I kind of want to be a bully, if that makes sense. I would like to bully, but not in the physical sense, but maybe in the in the intellectual, metaphorical, spiritual way. Bully somebody into doing better, right? Bully somebody into picking themselves up and doing better. And I definitely don't like to see people feel sorry for themselves as much as I like to see people motivated to do something better. Because I remember when I would post like pitiful shit on Facebook and feel sorry for myself, it didn't really ever help. I think sometimes people would reach out to me and make me feel better. But I would say in the last year, in the last 6 to 7 months, without giving myself too much credit, I could see the self-pity and the self-hatred and the self-esteem issues as my biggest problem, and not exactly what I thought was going on as my biggest problem. So I could see how maybe that's detrimental to other people. Feeling sorry for yourself is like the lowest possible thing you can do with yourself when you need to do something better. Another thing that I don't really like is when people look to, and this is a very polarizing, controversial subject, I know, and I'm not an expert. Like I say at the beginning here, nothing I say is really, something you should do, but medication, I hate people who take like anxiety well, I don't hate the people. I just hate the idea that people think that anxiety medications are going to solve what we have, the kind of issues that we have that make us sad in the first place. Really, introspective thought is going to change the way we feel. Seeking knowledge and wisdom, listening to people who've been there, spiritual teachers, Sadhguru, Eckhart Tolle, even Jordan Peterson, who I don't think he's like not the most amazing guy in the world, Jordan Peterson, but I know Jordan Peterson he's onto something when it comes to bettering yourself. Even like Joe Rogan, this is a guy who talks about, Joe Rogan's a very motivating guy. This guy, not that money is important, but the $100 million podcast, he's bringing tons of revenue into Austin, which is the state of Texas that I live in. Texas. Austin's right next door to here in San Antonio. But Joe Rogan's a motivator. Jordan Peterson is a motivator. Eckhart Tolle is a guy who wrote books who have unlocked millions of spirits around the world. Sadhguru has millions of followers. This guy teaches you how to be present and mindful and love yourself and love the people around you and look at nature and feel happy to be alive. And I think that's way more powerful than a prescribed pill that you swallow and think is going to change everything. I think pills really are detrimental to your body. I have a family member who takes medication to try to feel better about her anxieties, but I could see it creating more problems in her life. I could see her taking medication. She's putting on the weight. You know, she's becoming more she's becoming more aggressive. She's becoming more I want to say resentful towards the opposite sex, you know, hating on men for not being the answer to everything. And but I don't think that the opposite sex is the answer to really anything. I think the opposite sex is, you know, is here to complement our lives and make us find more joy in our daily lives, and romance and sex is amazing, but I don't think the opposite sex is the answer to any of our problems. I think the answer to our problems is within us. And I found this out over the last year and over the last decade even, is that you know, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying today. Everybody has flaws. And I had this theory that is, you know, it's a theory that I had that has been confirmed by other spiritual thinkers, that, you know, when we're born with this ego, and we're born with this need to feed or something within us. I've talked about the void, but we're born, you know, I want food. We cry for food. We cry for toys. We cry for our mom's love. We cry just because. But when we grow older, that need turns into, you know, we go through puberty. We start to look at the opposite sex. We start to think about having relationships and have sex, and we start to think about how we need more as far as money and cars and homes and clothes and finances. And then we become stressed, and then we develop mental health issues, and then we, you know, we discover that we have these I don't know if it's lazy or if it's just you fall back on these ideas about the opposite sex, but we start to develop, you know, perhaps it seems like a hatred or a contempt for people around us or the opposite sex. And we develop those feelings, and it creates, sometimes it turns into a mental illness. Sometimes we focus on these things. But the truth of the matter is that there's something within us that we're trying to feed, that we're trying to get from something that's external to us. But I think that everything that we really need is within us, and it's within information and knowledge. And once you learn that you don't really need the opposite sex, you do want stuff, but you don't need stuff. Like I want to have a relationship, but I don't need it. I tend to be able to fall asleep at night without a person around me or a person to talk to. And don't get me wrong, I've had people reach out and people that kind of want to, but I look at I'm a little more picky than I used to be about people. I don't want somebody whose hobby is to drink, or whose hobby is to do drugs, or, you know, somebody who mistreats themselves, or somebody who's not on the right track in life. And that's what changed, because I used to latch on to relationships. I used to have this what do they call it, codependency. Yeah, I used to be really codependent, and I used to think that I needed somebody, and I didn't realize that I really just needed myself to wake the fuck up. Like I cringe when I think about how I felt about certain people who were detrimental to me in the past, people who set me back in life, and I feel it today. Like I still feel set back. I'm still dealing with some of the damage of some of those relationships. And had I only known that had only known that what I needed was within me and within certain spiritual lessons that had to be learned, I could have been further. But I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I think the lessons that I've been through made me who I am today, and I'm pretty grateful for who I am today, because I had like the head I have on my shoulders at this point. But but yeah, taking medication to solve any of those really deep, you know, those are issues that are sewn into our souls that we need to fucking figure out. We need to unwrap the layers. We need to go through the pages of our souls, of, you know, what's inside of us. But I'd say taking a medication that numbs you and makes you you know, it makes you not feel the pain, it's probably not the best idea, because then you're putting the ideal that you need to do work away, and you're kind of just coasting through shit. And then you know, the weight comes in, right? and then the resentment towards the opposite sex comes in, and the not liking yourself, but also not liking other people, and then causing more chaos in your life because you don't have the tools to deal with certain aspects of life. So that's why I'm a big I'm against taking medication for anxieties. I would say anxieties are like your best friends. I would say that there's a reason why we have these anxieties. There's an innate reason that we hate on ourselves and our minds. There's something in our minds that tells us that we are not shit and we're not gonna be shit and we need to fucking do something about it. But a lot of people turn that off, or they ignore it, or they think, oh, that's just somebody in my head that sucks, that I hate. I hate myself because I suck or whatever. And they don't do anything about those thoughts. But I think there's a group of people out there that have those negative thoughts, those, they call them intrusive thoughts. I think there's a group of people that have those intrusive thoughts, and they use it, like I said earlier, like the haters and the motivation that haters bring. They let those intrusive thoughts seep into their mind and their consciousness, and they use those intrusive thoughts and they turn it into energy. You know, it's like turning coal into a speeding train. You know, it's like turning shit into a yard of crops in a farm. Like those negative aspects of our thought processes are there for a reason. I would say I'm not a religious person, not by any means. I'm a spiritual person, but I would say God or the universe or whatever reason why humans are how they are, and whatever created our minds, whatever it is, if it's, you could say the process of science or God or the universe, whatever it is, it put those thoughts in our heads for a reason. And to just simply wipe them out by numbing yourself out, that's a dangerous game. That's a really fucking dangerous game, because then you have people drinking and taking medications and passing out and driving and fucking not worrying about shit, losing touch with family, losing touch with relationships because you're numbing yourself and you're just ignoring problems. I would say that seeking help is more important than seeking medication, but a lot of people jump to the medication nowadays because they think that it's a quick fix, and a lot of people are very lazy. A lot of people, trust me, I've been there and I've seen it firsthand. A lot of people think that maybe my dosage is incorrect, maybe I need to try a new medication, maybe it's something but these are, I look at some of these stories and I think, like, if only they just found some kind of therapeutic way to attack the problem, or a different perspective when they're looking at their problems. Because like I said before, we all have what we need inside of us. We just need to learn how to unlock it. We all have that spirit. You know, when I go dance, or when I go on stage and I sing at the karaoke bar, or when I hang out with friends, or when I get paid at work, or when I work out and I see the changes in my physical body, or when I get a nice haircut, or when I buy something nice for my car, or, you know, a new cologne or something that makes me smell better or feel better, my spirit wakes up. My spirit's happy to be here. I feel better about myself, you know, in those aspects. And those are very productive things to do. And it's not drinking, and it's not doing drugs, and it's not chasing after a relationship, and it's not you know, trying to use, you know, anything to feel better. But these are really nice things to do for yourself that you can do. Like I learned how to unlock my spirit, and now my spirit is so much bigger than my physical body. I didn't know that was possible, but my spirit is it's over this house that I'm in. The spirit is big. I think it touches people. I think it motivates people to do things for themselves. I think it makes people happy to see that you're doing good for yourself. But definitely sitting at home and feeling sorry for yourself and taking medications and hiding from the problems and hiding from the truth and not looking for better ways is going to be harmful. So that's my rant about medication. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was never one to take pills in my adult age. They tried to kind of give me pills when I was a kid because they said I was too much for teachers. But kids are supposed to be like that. the modern day school system is not natural by any means when it comes to raising children. It's basically a business, and I don't know. Using a business to raise kids it's going to turn into something ugly. So they tried to give me medication, and there were side effects. And now that I'm older, I look at medication with like this disdain. I complete contempt for medications. I'm not one to take them. I think the only time I would take some type of medication is if I was sick and I could see that there were results making me feel physically better. But something mental, that's a more of a complicated thing to do. It's like a more complicated game. I'm not. I don't know. It's just weird that people would try to find a quick fix for something as complicated as life itself. You know. But that's my rant about medication. I don't know if that went over well. If it did, let me know. If it did, if you have any arguments against what I have had, what I have just said, then let me know. Let me know. Um, Also, my YouTube channel is the Doom Scrolls, no spaces. Let's see. There it is, the Doom Scrolls, no spaces. Come check us out. Go over here and subscribe. Subscribe to my channel there. Give us some likes. Give us some views. It might be fun for you to listen or watch. It might not. Let me know what you think. You got any criticism, constructive criticism, any negative criticism? I really like that. It makes me think differently about stuff. I like to get different perspectives. If you think I suck, let me know if I suck. I'll probably never do another episode again, which is actually not true. I'll probably do more just because fuck you. It's a spite cast at that point. Making spite, fucking filming spite and creating spite casts. But yeah, I know I know that the girl let me find out. I know that the girl that kind of started me off on this rant today, I know that she is a subscriber. So if you're there, hit me up and we'll do an episode together, and you can argue with me and you can talk shit to me. I don't mind it. Like I said, I kind of like criticism, and I like opposing views, and I like to talk about stuff. I like to get into it. Some of the things I don't like when it comes to talking, I don't like talking about race so much, unless I'm just kind of bullying somebody, which is going to be funny but not really cool. I don't like talking about police. That shit's it angers me. I don't like talking about police. I don't like talking about race. Politics I'll do, but I also don't like people who don't do their due diligence. There was a lady at a bar earlier this week. I think it was Saturday or Friday. But this lady stopped me, and she was for sure drunk and a little off. She was a little obnoxious, I think. That's just me personally. And in the moment, I don't mean overall obnoxious, but I think in the moment she was just a little loud and obnoxious. And she screamed out loud, and she was like, "You're doing a podcast?" And she was like, "I want to be on it." And she said something like, "The Ghostface podcast. I want to be on the Ghostface podcast." She was talking about my Doom Scroll microphone over here. My Doom Scroll microphone. That's pretty much the microphone. It's me. But that's my logo. And the due diligence part of it is like, no, we're not called the Ghostface podcast. We're called the Doom Scrolls. And like, I didn't stop to tell her because she was drunk. But when it comes to doing like your due diligence, that's very important to me. I like people who go out there and study what they're going to get into, and then they come back and they have something poignant to say. But I definitely hate it when people are coming at me with half informations or information that's not right. I like people who do their research. I like people who are well read. I like people who have experience in what they're up to. Unlike me here, like I'm just winging it. But I don't want people to come at me and say, you got to do this or you can't do that or whatever, without having been there and having tried themselves. Yeah, everybody's seen podcasts, but who's actually gotten out there and put their shit together and actually tried to make one and failed and fucked up? And for somebody to just be like, well, it's going to be boring, or I don't care, I don't want to see it. That's fine. Like, that's your opinion. But come on here and tell me, let's get into it. Maybe we'll do some cross let's say what is scissoring. Maybe we'll do some cross promotion shit. Maybe I'll find somebody who has a podcast out there who wants to get in it with me and get out here and do this. I think what I'll do is I'll do maybe I might do 20 episodes on my own, 24, 25 episodes, season 1, which is basically what we're doing now. And then it'll be a season 1.0, which is the actual season 1, where I'm actually going to put some of the ideas that I've got from testing the podcast idea. I'll put season 1.0 out there after 25 episodes. But I think what I'll do is I'll throw this on Twitch in a continuous loop. I'll play this on Twitch, maybe like a 24-hour continuous loop, to kind of just put my name out there, which is it's kind of not cool to give your ideas out like this, but I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna try to help some people along the way. So I'll put my show on Twitch on a 24-hour loop, leave it there for a couple of weeks, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks, get my name out there, get some subscribers to the channel. I'll tell people go to the Doom Scrolls channel. I might put an ad between every show, like a 2-minute commercial for the show between every episode, and bring some people to the channel. And then I'll do a live show eventually, where I'll have people in the chat and friends watching, perhaps, maybe not, but that's not going to deter me from doing it anyway. So sometimes it's going to be a reaction podcast. Sometimes it'll be me watching Twitch channels. It might be me watching YouTube shorts, Facebook Reels, TikTok videos. Will be ticking around the internet. But this is just something I wanted to do for a while, and I'm glad you sat with me. If you did sit with me, let me know. Let me know how you feel about some of the stuff I said. If you're that lady from Southtown 101, hit me up. I know you're a subscriber. I know you're watching. I don't know if you sat through this whole episode, but if you did, maybe you have some pointers. Maybe you just want to tell me to fuck off. You could tell me in person, but it would be funnier if you did it. It actually would only benefit me if you did it on here. But it'd be great to hear your opinion. Because, I don't have a personality the way you might like. And I didn't use it in a derogatory way, but you're older than me. You're in a different culture than I am. We're all a part of the same world. We're all a part of the same team here, as far as everybody wants to do good and everybody wants to progress and be better. But if my personality doesn't make you want to stick around, then I also understand why that is. But anyway, that was it for today. Go ahead and come to the Doom Scrolls YouTube page. I ordered some business cards to give to some people. If you want a business card, I'll have them here in a couple days. It has a QR code. You can use your camera on your phone to look at the card, and it'll send you right to the YouTube channel if you don't want to look for the YouTube channel. But I found my own channel pretty easily by going to here we go. Let's see. I go to YouTube, search, I look up the Doom Scrolls, no spaces, and it's me right at the very top. So check out the Doom Scrolls on YouTube, subscribe, like my channel, send me hate messages, do whatever you want, leave comments. They don't have to be good. They don't have to be constructive at all. It could just be fuck you. It could just be you're an idiot, you're an asshole, I hate you. It could be anything. I just like the idea that somebody's watching. And even if you're not watching, leave me a message that says, I'm not going to watch this shit. I don't give a shit what you have to say. Who are you to make a podcast? Delete this shit. Fuck you. You know, go ahead and do that. That sounds fun for me. I'd like to see that. But anyway, thanks for watching. My name is Chris Rodriguez, which that's another thing. I don't know if you need like a podcast name, like a cool, like something to go by. I couldn't think of anything. If I tried, it would take me so long that I would never do an episode. So I'm just going to be myself. My name is Chris Rodriguez. This is the Doom Scrolls.